Welcome back to TSS TT Science Studio, the channel that makes biology make sense. So, if you're starting out in biology, maybe you are in GS3, SS1, or picking up the subject afresh, then this video is the perfect starting point. And if you're already in SS2 or SS3 revising for WAEC or IG, CSE, don't skip this one. Introduction topics sometimes shows up in your paper and student may lose easy marks by not knowing the basics. Today we are covering introduction to biology, what it is, the main branches, why we study it and how it connects to the real world around us. By the end of this video, you'll be able to define biology in a way that will earn you full marks on any exam. Name the two main branches of biology, list at least three careers that require a knowledge of biology. And finally, state why we study living things and why biology matters beyond the classrooms. So, what is biology? So, what exactly is biology? Let's break the word down because understanding the word itself gives you the definition. The word biology comes from two Greek words, bio, which means life, logos, which means the study of. So let's put them together and you get biology. Biology is the scientific study of living things. So that's your definition. Very short, clear, and complete. So write it down. Biology is the scientific study of living things. Now, what counts as a living thing? Biology covers all living things, including plants, from microscopic algae to giant rainforest plants, and animals from bacteria-sized organisms to the blue whales, also the fungi like the mushrooms and molds. Bacteria also, the single-celled organism, too small to see with your naked eyes. And the protists also, they are microscopic organisms like amoeba and the parameciums. So biology asks the questions, how do these organisms live? How do they grow? How do they reproduce? How do they interact with each other and their environment? And over the few years of your biology education, you will answer all these questions. Now, let's talk about the two main branches of biology. Biology is a very huge subject, so scientists divide it into branches, each focusing on a different group of living things. The two most important branches to know for your WAEC are botany. Botany is the study of plants. A scientist who studies plants is called a botanist. Examples of what botany studies include trees, flowering plants, grasses, mosaic, and algae. Botany helps us to understand how plant grows, how they reproduce, how they produce their food through photosynthesis, and how to use them in medicine and agriculture. Okay, now to zoology. Zoology is the study of animals. A scientist who studies animals is called a zoologist. Example of what zoology studies mammals, birds, reptiles, fish, insect, and other animals you can think of. So zoologists help us to understand animal behavior, evolution, and how to protect wildlife. So the memory hack you can just think of is botany talks about plants, bushes and trees, while zoology talks about zoo, that's animals. So if you can remember what a zoo is, a zoo is full of animals, you will never mix up zoology with botany again. So, other branches you should know beyond botany and zoology, there are several other branches of biology that WAEC and IGCSE expect you to know. Let me walk you through them and I'll give you a memory clue for each one. Let's talk about ecology. Ecology is the study of organisms and their environment. How do living things interact with each other and their surroundings? So that is ecology. So when you hear the word eco, actually is talking about environment. Now, genetics. Genetics simply is the study of heredity and variation. In other words, you study why do children look like their parents? Why are some people taller than the others? Okay, so the answer is genetics. So when you study this, it is called genetics. So whenever you hear genetics, it has to do with genes and inheritance. Let's talk about the next one, which is anatomy. Anatomy is the study of the internal structures of organisms. When a doctor knows where your heart is, your liver is, your lungs are, that's anatomy. So, anatomy is just the architecture of the body. Another one is physiology. Physiology is the study of how body parts functions, not just where they are located, but how they work. Anatomy is the structure, is the structure of the body, while physiology is the function. So, physiology has to do with functions of the internal organs. Another one is the cytology. Cytology is the study of cells. The word cyto means cells. So, cytology is cell biology. Cytology is cell biology. Another one is microbiology. This is the study of microscopic organisms, things too small to see with your naked eyes, like bacteria and viruses. So these are career or branches in biology. Okay, now why do we study biology? Now, here's the question your teachers might ask you: why do we study biology? There are key reasons, and I want you to understand them, not just memorize them. Number one, to understand how our own bodies work. How does your heart pump blood? How do your lungs take in oxygen? How does your food get digested? Biology answers all of these questions. Another reason why we study biology is to learn about diseases and how to treat them. Talk about COVID-19, malaria, typhoid, HIV. Biology helps us to understand these diseases, develop drugs for them, and create vaccines to prevent them. Another reason why we study biology is to understand where food comes from. Every meal you eat starts with biology. Plants grow through photosynthesis, animals are raised and bred. Understanding biology improves agriculture and food security. Another reason why we study biology is to protect the environment. Yes, the environment needs to be protected, like deforestation, pollution, climate change, endangered species. Biology gives us the tool to understand and address these problems. And the next thing, why do we study biology? To pursue careers like medicine, pharmacy, nursing, agriculture, research. These are all built on a foundation of biology. So, a memory arc, if you're being asked the summary, why we study biology is biology helps us to live better. Okay, career that requires biology. Let me show you just how biology's reach is when it comes to career. If you study biology and study it well, here are some of the doors it can open for you. You can be a doctor. You can diagnose disease and treat diseases. You can be a nurse. You care for patients and administers treatment. You can be a pharmacist. You can prepare and dispense medicine for patients. You can also be a dentist. You specialize in the health of teeth and gums. You can be a veterinarian. You will be a doctor for animals. You can also be an agriculturist. You can work to improve food production and farming. You can also be a biotechnologist. You use living organisms to develop useful product. Another thing is that you can be an environmental scientist. studies and protect the ecosystem. Remember, I explained what ecology is the other time. And you can also be a laboratory scientist to conduct scientific tests and experiment. And that's just the beginning. We have forensic scientists, we have science teachers, researchers, nutritionists. Biology is at the heart of all of them. So if you're sitting in class right now wondering, why am I studying this slide is your answer. Biology is not just for passing WAEC. It is the foundation of some of the most important and rewarding careers in the world. Now, let's go deeper into how biology connects to the real world. Let's start with medicine. Biology and medicine are inseparable. Here's why. Biology teaches how the body works, its organs, its system, its cells. Without that knowledge, doctors cannot diagnose or treat anything. Biology helps us understand bacteria and viruses. And that understanding led to the development of antibiotics, which have saved hundreds of millions of lives. Biology helps us understand how the heart functions, which made open heart surgery and heart transplants very possible. And most recently, biology was the center of developing the COVID-19 vaccines in record time. The same is true for the polio vaccines, measles vaccines, and many other vaccines you can think of. Every drug, every surgery, every vaccine is at the start with biology. So when you study the heart in biology class, you're learning what future cardiologists need to know. When you study microbes, you're learning what future doctors and epidemiologists need to understand. Let's look at another relevance. Biology relevance to agriculture. Biology is also central to agriculture, how we grow food to feed the world. Here's how, biology helps farmers understand pests and diseases that destroys crops and develop ways to fight them without chemicals. It has led to the development of pest resistant crops through genetic research, meaning farmers can grow more food with fewer losses. Another thing is that biology has improved animal breeding. For example, crossbreeding, breeding different breeds of cattle to produce cow that give more milk or more meat. Another one is better fertilizers. You know, they are able to develop through biological research how you can get an increased crop yield across Africa and the world. Nigeria, like many African countries, depends heavily on agriculture. A strong knowledge of biology is what produces better farmers, better agricultural scientists, and better food security for our nation. All right, now let's look at the relevance of biology to pharmacy. Pharmacy is another field that is completely built on biology. Pharmacists need to understand how drugs interact with the body, which means understanding biology at the cellular and molecular level. Biology has helped scientists develop new medicines, many of which one that comes from plants and microorganisms found in nature. One of the most famous example is penicillin, the world's first antibiotics. It was discovered from a fungus, a living organism. That's a biology in action. Another one is the malaria drugs like quinine, which was originally derived from the bark of the cinchona tree, which is another biological source. Understanding biology ensures that the correct dosage are prescribed. Too little and the drugs doesn't work. Too much and it becomes toxic. So every tablet you take, every injection you receive, someone with deep knowledge of biology made that possible. Relevance to environmental science. Environmental science is where biology meets the planet. Biology helps us understand the impact of pollution on living organisms, how oil spills kills fishes, how air pollution affect the lungs, how chemicals in water harm ecosystems. So it guides the conservation of endangered species, helping scientists understand what these animals need to survive and produce. Another thing is that biology helps us understand climate change's impact on plants and animals, how rising temperature are affecting migration patterns, food chains, and habitats. It also helps us manage deforestation, understanding what happens to ecosystem when forests are cleared. So in a world facing serious environmental challenges, environmental biologists are more important than ever. And it all begins with the biology you are learning right now. Relevance to biotechnology. Biotechnology is one of the most exciting and fast growing field connected to biology. Biotechnology uses living organisms or biological systems to make useful products or solve problems. Here are some examples that will blow your mind. Yeast making bread rise. Yeast is a living organism that releases carbon dioxide, which causes dough to expand. That's biotechnology in your kitchen. Another one is fermentation to produce drinks like beer, yogurt, and other fermented products, all uses microorganism. We also have bacteria producing insulin. People with diabetes need insulin to control their blood sugar. So scientists have genetically engineered bacteria to produce human insulin in large quantities. So it saves lives through biology. We have the GMO crops. Genetically modified organisms are crops that have been altered using biology to grow faster, resist pests, or survive droughts. So biotechnology is biology plus technology, solutions to real-world problem, and it is one of the fastest growing career field in the world right now. Let's look at the relevance of biology to food science and nutrition. Food science and nutrition is another area where biology is absolutely essential. Biology helps us understand what food does inside the body, how carbohydrate give us energy, how protein build and repair tissues, how vitamins and minerals keeps us healthy. It helps us know which food prevents deficiency diseases. For example, vitamin C prevents scurvy, vitamin D prevents rickets, iron prevents anemia. So biology also guides food preservation like canning, freezing, and drying food to prevent bacterial growth and extend shelf life. Also, food safety biology is used to check food for harmful bacteria like salmonella before it reaches your plate. Next time you eat, remember that every nutritional label, every food safety regulation, and every dietary recommendation exists because of biology. And finally, sport science. This one surprises a lot of students, but biology is deeply connected to sports and athletics. Biology helps us understand how muscle works, how they contract, and how they fatigue and how they recover. It helps sports scientists and coaches design training programs that maximize performance without causing injury. So when athletes get injured, it's biology that guides physiotherapy and rehabilitation, helping them recover faster and stronger. Understanding lactic and build up, oxygen depth, heart rate, and muscle fiber types All of that comes from biology. So whether you want to be an athlete, a sports scientist, a physiotherapist, or a fitness coach, biology is your foundation. Biology truly touches every part of human life. That's why it's worth studying, not just for the exams, but for your future. Now, in summary, let's bring it all together for a quick summary you can use for your revision. Here are 8 fields where biology is relevant and the one line description for each. Medicine treats disease and keeps us healthy. Agriculture helps us grow and protect food. Pharmacy helps develop and use drugs safely. Environmental science protect nature and ecosystem. Biotechnology uses living things to make useful product. Food science keep food safe, healthy and nutritious. Sport science improves athlete performance and recovery. Finally, we have the forensic science uses DNA and biology to solve crime. Note that one. Forensic science, it uses biology, specifically DNA analysis, to solve crime. That's what you see in crime investigation shows, and it's a real career field built in biology. I have a question for you. Time to test yourself. Which field uses biology to solve crimes using DNA evidence? So drop your answer in the comment section. Question 2. Which field uses biology to develop vaccines and treat diseases? So tell me your answer in the comment section. Another question: which branch of biology deals with the study of plants? This one is very easy. All right, drop your answer for me in the comments section. And that is your full introduction to biology. So if this video helped you, please like, share, subscribe to TT Science Studio. We are building a library of free high-quality biology content for every WAEC and Igcse student, and your support helps us reach more students who needs it. So drop a comment below. Tell me which career that requires biology interests you the most. I'd love to know. So for any question or one-on-one tutor, I want you to send me a mail, ttsciencestudio@gmail.com. Until next time, study smart, stay consistent, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.